These Year 11 pupils from Raymond Terrace High School near Newcastle are the first students from country areas to see how a business is run or how they think it should be. It's a work experience program introduced by the Australian Quality Council. They're set problems faced by companies like the Port Waratah Coal Services and asked to present solutions to managers at the end of the week.
We were given a problem and we were hoping to come up with some recommendations for the company that would improve the efficiency of this process and save them costs and save them time to increase productivity.
The students come in with very, very unprogrammed minds. They think very creatively and in lots of ways they're able to offer a great deal.
It could cost the company thousands of dollars to employ consultants to do the same job. This group found some simple solutions for the smoother running of the storeroom at Port Waratah, where some 3,500 items essential for maintenance are housed.
We came up with a barcoding system, so in order to reduce the paperwork and therefore make time more efficient for the workers in here, we also had a shelving for the store to keep the dust off.
It was a lot better than standard work experience because we had a real input into it and we felt we were accomplishing something.
It's hoped the program will be expanded to include other northern New South Wales high schools next year. Joanne Shoebridge, NBN News.
It's the 10th anniversary of the Classic, which is the longest running surfing event on the Central Coast, attracting not just locals but competitors from up and down the coast. The first event was won by the late Mark Sainsbury and now caters for 7 divisions including body surfing. In the past, the Classic has raised $12,000, those in today's heats making the most of the 1 to 1.5 metre swell. The finals will be contested tomorrow. Meantime, former Breakers captain Darren Stewart was part of Toronto's victory against Singleton B in round 6 of the Breakers Summer Sevens at Austral Park last night. Stewart has recently returned from overseas and helped his side to a 6-2 victory. Toronto maintaining its place at the top of the table. In an earlier match, Singleton A down the Gunners 2-1. Three straight for Pop's Dream, which is trained by Gay Waterhouse. Ridden by Glenn Boss, it returns 670 and 270, striking gold and western approaches filling the minors. To Brisbane and the Doomben Stakes, where Chief De Beers went one better than Pop's Dream, bringing up 4 straight. Chief De Beers gave Alan Russell his first Metropolitan treble and returned 150 and 130. Flying Tycoon second and Blondin third. After Everett Stool's record-breaking performance on Friday, teammate Neil Webber continued the high standard of pitching last night. The home side went one up at the bottom of the second, Brisbane unable to get the Eagles pitching away till the last inning when they levelled the game. But Wright remained cool in the crisis, scoring the first of his 2 home runs on the night to win the match. Meantime, in surfing, the first round of the summer surfing series was conducted at Nobby's Beach this morning. At stake, a place in the final in February and a wildcard entry into the Mark Richards Newcastle City Pro event during Surffest. 10 qualified today, including Christian McCall and Andy Brinkworth, while Matt Breeze won the first heat of the Beach Biathlon series. In Speedway, Wallsend rider Stephen Davies won the 500cc Solo Classic at the Newcastle Motordrome last night. Davies qualified fourth for the elimination final, but was able to overcome Cessnock's Chris Watson in the last round. The Australian sedan team for the Boxing Day test against America was announced last night, with John Pine, Bob Brewer, Don McEwen and Stu Robertson all selected. After losing the toss, Belmont was set in to bat on a wicket that offered the Seamers early assistance. Having lost 4 early wickets, including that of captain Mark Curry for 40, Greg Charlton steadied the innings for the home side. He reached 38 before being caught behind off the bowling of Holloway. Alan Sharp joined Robbie Potter, who was content to give the strike to his senior partner. Sharp was prepared to chance his arm in the search for quick runs, this drop chance proving expensive, as the pair put on 56 for the 6th wicket, taking Belmont over the 200 before Potter was run out for 37. But Sharp saved his best for the last over of the innings, medium pacer Mick Waugh conceding 24 runs off his last 6 balls. That was one of 3 sixes in the over, Belmont finishing at 6 for 236.
Just another group of teenagers having fun in the sun. Well, yes and no. They all have sight problems. Some can't see at all, but they're all determined to make the most of their week in paradise. It comes in the form of the Lake Munmora Kiwi Ranch on the Central Coast, where the only handicap is a camper's level of adventure. Shannon Foster is one of 30 visually impaired teenagers who refuses to live his life how others expect him to. Of course, there are some hurdles along the way, but none too hard to overcome. There are 2 Royal Blind Society camps every year, trying to give blind teenagers experiences they haven't encountered. For 14-year-old Leah Thyri, this was her first time behind a speedboat.
Oh, it was really good. It's the best thing. Oh, just going really fast and doing something you don't get to do very often.
Most of these kids go to everyday schools and are often the only student with severe sight loss. Camps like this give them a network of friends with similar problems.
Yeah, it helps a lot because you got a lot in common, you know, because we've all got the same problem sort of thing. You can just you get along really easily.
And you get to share your experiences and learn from each other's experiences.
And what do you get out of it?
A lot. What do I get out of it? I get out of it a very, very long days. Very tiring, but it's also very rewarding, and I really enjoy working with the campers and the teenagers.
In Malaysia, Darren Stewart became accustomed to playing in front of crowds of up to 90,000 people. After making the top four with club side Johor and only missing a place in the finals on goal difference, Stewart returned home last week. He automatically got a run for Toronto in the Breakers' Summer Sevens on Friday night. But unlike in Malaysia, the crowd was a bit more subdued and he had to come off the reserves bench.
Yeah, that was the rules. I had to start on the bench, and but we're only in it for fun. It's a terrific idea from the Breakers, and hopefully, the boys will keep winning.
Complete with wife and son Matthew, Stewart has returned for a 6-week break from the game. He says he was saddened to hear of the Breakers' demise from this season's National League, but has nothing but praise for the current administration. Stewart is confident he will play with the Breakers again, despite agreeing to another 2-year stint in Malaysia.
I signed the day before we left to come back home for another 2 seasons, but in that contract it does allow me to play with the Breakers in the off-season if they get back in, so we'll wait and see.
Three swimmers head this year's finalists, including 1991 Sports Star winner Chris Feidler. His Australian teammates, the Central Coast Stephen Dewick and the Far North Coast Petria Thomas, who won 2 golds in Canada, also qualify. Tamworth javelin thrower Louise McPaul was also part of Australia's record golden haul at Victoria.
Included in the All-Star lineup is North Coast local lad Cameron Curtis, who began the sole well in the opening round.
25 in the last 6 months, while Byron Bay's Pauline Mensah only narrowly failed to defend her world surfing crown, won by Lisa Anderson in Sydney yesterday. The Central Coast David Fairley also qualified, having been part of the Kangaroo Tour and joining Rugby League's elite when he won this year's Rothmans medal. Lake Macquarie's Chris Nicholson is one of 14 finalists after defending his 505 world title with brother Darren and qualifying for the Atlanta Olympics in the Tornado catamaran class. Newcastle's Lisa Ryan was one of several of our women at the top of their sport. Lisa won the World Wave Ski title, while Lake Macquarie's Sportsperson of the Year, Shelley Andrews, was part of Australia's hockey team that took out the world title in Ireland. Australia's #1 women's 10-pin bowler Anne-Marie Putney, softball's World All-Star Team representative Natalie Ward, and beach sprint queen Veronica Lee are also in contention for the award, which includes a trip for 2 for 7 days to Hong Kong. The winner of the NBN St George Bank Sports Star of the Year award will be announced during a live telecast from NBN Studios on January the 21st.
Friday's fatal collision was the latest in a series of accidents in an area known as the 4 Mile south of Taree. The Roads and Traffic Authority has begun upgrading the road surface and merging the northbound lanes just before the sweeping bends. But local rescue workers say further action is needed, even though the RTA dropped the speed limit from 100 to 90 kilometres per hour several weeks ago. They're supporting a police push to lower the speed limit even further. Volunteer Warren Prentice says it needs to be reduced to 80 kilometres to suit wet weather conditions. The Taree Volunteer Rescue Squad is one of the busiest in the state. The number of road fatalities at the 4 Mile has doubled since last year. Mr Prentice is hopeful new speed limits will be introduced in the next few days before there are more casualties.
It's coming up to Christmas and it's a terribly sad thing to see Christmas presents lying on the roadside that are never going to be given to somebody.
Tracy Walsh, NBN News. The Grin and Bear It report focuses on 16 regional Aboriginal communities across the state. It highlights the problems of isolation, unemployment and trader attitudes. It was discovered only 2% of those surveyed for the report knew their rights as consumers. Taree community leaders, shopkeepers and City Council representatives gathered today to hear the report's findings from the Minister for Consumer Affairs.
If you take them as a proportion of the community, we ought to be getting more complaints and inquiries from Aboriginal people, and we're not. And that's something we found on the Mid-North Coast as well as out west.
According to the report, the shopping experience for Aboriginal consumers is intimidating and frustrating. Viewed as potential thieves, they'd prefer not to try clothes on in stores in case they're accused of stealing. The report states Aboriginal consumers are reluctant to take back faulty articles, preferring not to create a fuss. And credit remains a major problem in isolated towns. The Minister says a series of workshops will be conducted throughout regional New South Wales to let Aboriginal communities know their consumer rights. Tracy Walsh, NBN News.
Every year, house burglaries cost New South Wales more than $144 million, while Sydney and the Illawarra continue to be the worst affected areas. Newcastle is fast catching up. Over the last 4 years, the rate of theft has increased by a frightening 58%. Just below Newcastle is the Maitland area, where the number of break-ins jumped from 9 to 17 claims per 1,000 policies. That's a rise of nearly 100% in 1 year.
It should be a concern to us. It should also be a concern to the residents, because what our research has revealed is that people are becoming less security conscious.
Figures by Newcastle Police show a similar trend. The increase in property theft is such a concern that it's become the district's key target area.
We've been targeting break-and-enters in dwellings and in commercial properties all of this year and last year as well. It continues to be a major concern for the District Police.
Since July, police statistics show there have been more than 1,000 break-ins in an area stretching from Swansea to Hexham. But the police are also making inroads, with more than 1,200 related charges. According to the NRMA, almost 30% of all robberies are from backyards, with tools and garden equipment easy prey. While Newcastle, Maitland and even Cessnock are doing badly by NRMA figures, there are those areas which boast a clean slate. In the last year, both Gloucester and Marywar have had virtually no insurance claims for house robberies.
Julian Cleary, star of the television series Sticky Moments, is in Australia performing his show My Boyfriend's Back. The show offers a couple of hours of escapism, of entertaining nonsense, but what you see is not what you get when the spotlight is turned off. Do you feel naked without your makeup and dog collar?
I don't feel very comfortable without it, no. But it's sort of what used to be very daring to put it all on as a form of disguise. It's now quite daring for me to take it off.
So when he's off stage, how would he describe himself?
I'm in quite a good mood today, but I can be very quiet. I can be a lot quieter than people expect.
At 7:30 last night, a fisherman found the drum on the beach at Crowdy Head. Fire brigade personnel arrived at the scene. Alarmed by the discovery, immediate comparisons were drawn with the drums found further up the coast over the past few days, believed to be highly toxic.
200 litre drum, just on the high tide mark. There were no markings on the drum whatsoever besides a little bit of red paint.
Taree Fire Brigade member Max Beard says there's no evidence to suggest the substance has leaked from the drum. As a precautionary measure, protective clothing has been worn while it's been handled. It's currently inside a recovery container at the Taree Council depot. Bayer Chemical Company is due to collect the drum in an effort to identify its contents. It's the 7th drum washed up on North Coast beaches over the past few days. All are believed to contain isocyanate, a toxic chemical used in plastics. Meanwhile, hazmat teams have been flown to Shelley Beach near Yamba today to investigate another drum. There have also been 2 other unconfirmed sightings at Pottsville Beach and the Richmond River. Tracy Walsh, NBN News.
The council had planned to introduce 4 wards, each with 3 elected representatives, plus the Lord Mayor, that would have taken the number of councillors to 13. The Department of Local Government advised council it was breaching the new Local Government Act by increasing the number of councillors from 12 to 13. Now the ward system plan is in doubt after council lost a Supreme Court challenge against the department.
Time has run out to rectify this because the state parliament has risen. There's no state parliament until after the next state election, which is March.
Justice Windia found the council could not increase its number without changing the City of Newcastle Act. That could have been done only with a second referendum held at least 12 months before next September's general elections. Despite finding against council, Justice Windia was critical of the department, saying one cannot help wondering why it allowed the problem to remain and that the department could easily have made provision for council that would have been far more desirable than abolishing the wards or reducing the number of councillors.
I've tried to contact the Minister Pickering on a number of occasions and really I've only had the runaround in the last few weeks from him.
Councillor Tate says he'll look into the possibility of an appeal.
The Premier's $2.36 million grant, plus support from the New South Wales League, has cleared the night's slate.
The advisory committee, through the leadership of Rod Harrison and Terry Lawler and the assistance of the New South Wales Rugby League, has worked tirelessly behind the scenes to put together a very comprehensive situation to bring us the result that we saw yesterday.
But according to the club's management, the hard work has just begun. A 5-year financial plan is being put into place. High on the list, a licensed club for the Knights. Now that they're clear of debt, the Knights would be happy to renew talks with Newcastle's western suburbs over the possibility of a union.
Sure, we're a more attractive proposition to not only clubs like Western Suburbs but to other businesses to form partnerships, and we believe that it's certainly a major windfall in that respect.
However, West's manager Bob Ferris says any deal with the Knights would have to be a board decision and he couldn't preempt that. Meanwhile, the Knights are also looking at the possibility of building their own licensed club, a definite option with the turnaround in their finances. The change is also expected to attract more quality players to Newcastle, with the team now seen as a better prospect. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Subsidised food for hospital employees, free parking spaces for staff, the free use of cars to deliver penicillin to diabetics. All could go after a controversial attack on fringe benefits in hospitals by the Australian Taxation Department.
This outrageous Christmas present to the people of the Hunter from the Australian Taxation Office suggests that public hospitals in the Hunter would no longer be regarded as charities and would result in a $2 million additional cost to health services in the Hunter.
Dr Smythe says the area health services aren't considered benevolent institutions, exposing them to the fringe benefits tax for the first time. But member for Newcastle, Alan Morris, says every government body must pay the tax by law.
If you're going to ask me to encourage hospitals to give doctors Mercedes and then not be taxed on them, go jump. No way I would.
For a neurosurgeon coming to do an urgent brain operation at the John Hunter Hospital where we provide a parking space, we have to pay tax on that. I think it's outrageous.
Dr Smythe claims it will take millions of dollars out of the state health budget while providing extra revenue for the Commonwealth. But the federal government denies it's giving with one hand and taking with the other.
No, not really. I mean, it doesn't work like that quite so simply.
Alan Morris claims if there was a shortfall, the state government would have already appealed to the Federal Treasury to be reimbursed. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. A hospital can be a scary place for a child, but there was no fear today as Big Dog and friends brought some early Christmas cheer.
When I first came here, I was a little bit scared, but then it got funnier and I liked it.
There were smiles all round, with party food and funny costumes, and a special message from a Falcon star. They enjoyed the party, but couldn't help looking forward to what they want on the biggest fun day of the year in just over a week.
Probably a racing car set. Oh, skateboard. A motorbike. I don't know, whatever I get, that's what I want.
7-year-old spinal muscular atrophy sufferer Matthew Everett already has his Christmas wish, a specially designed stroller. It's come all the way from Sweden, paid for by public donations and a government grant. But you couldn't begrudge this keen Jimmy Barnes fan another wish.
An electric guitar.
An electric guitar? Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Shane Powell began surfing as an 8-year-old here at Avoca Beach. Today he's back in the water as the #2 rated surfer in the world.
I'm really overwhelmed, you know. I can't believe it. I've been really tired because I celebrated so much, so I've been in a bit of a daze the last few days.
Shane finished the year on a high, winning the Coke Classic in Sydney last weekend. His victory cemented his position as runner-up. American Kelly Slater took the crown, Slater claiming Powell is a sure bet for the world title in the near future. And Shane is getting ready for greater things.
Next year I'm going to set my goal for the world title, have a bit of rest from now over Christmas, and then I'm going to start training.
It's been a tremendous climb in the ratings for the 22-year-old. 4 years ago he was in the 40s, last year 9th. After 12 months of travelling the world and competing, Shane won't be spending all of his time in the surf while at home. In fact, he'll be trying to keep out of the water.
I have a boat, a 16-footer. It's good to get out there in the oceans. Not surf, but you're still with the ocean, so it's really good to fish.
Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Kathy Burgess admits she has nearly no chance of winning the seat of Port Stephens, but says the Greens can push the other parties to adopt more environmentally friendly policies.
It's mainly to highlight the issues and get the major parties listening to the people that want those issues put across.
The Greens want Newcastle Bight to become a national park and will continue to fight for the abolition of the Fern Bay development. Ms Burgess is part of the Newcastle Green Group that pushed for the ICAC investigation that's looking at Port Stephens Council's handling of the Fern Bay venture. She says this sort of scrutiny will be applied to the policies of the major parties, and if none of them match up, the Greens may not direct preferences. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
Now followed closely by Ashley Road and further out Chunganoff. Past the 200 mark though, it's Notorious Prince headed by Pimpala Sun. Duquel further out coming through near the fence is Magic Road. Pimpala Sun just the leader as they get near home over Duquel. Chunganoff is charging down the outside, but Pimpala Sun is too good.
The daily double to the Newcastle trainer with apprentice Mal Ollerton successful on Pimpala Sun, which returned 20.80 and 6.50. Shoganoff paid $11.40 and Magic Road $2 even.
It was the perfect Christmas treat for Armidale's farmers, steady, teeming rain. The downpour hit late yesterday afternoon. At its peak, 100 millimetres came down in half an hour. At 7, a freak whirlwind hit in its path the YCW Leagues Club on the edge of town. In a matter of minutes, the club's roof was ripped off, the damage bill in excess of $100,000.
The wind was blowing in one direction, yet the roof landed 100 metres away on a house in the other direction, so obviously it was a tornado type situation there.
100-year-old trees were ripped out of the ground, power lines cut, parts of the city were blacked out till after midnight.
I know how the people in Darwin felt 20 years ago now.
About a dozen houses in the East Armidale area were also damaged. Incredibly, no one was injured in the storm. The blustery conditions were felt across the northwest. At Tamworth, a small plane was tipped over by the winds. Peter Ryan, NBN News. The 3 a.m. Christmas wake-up call for Newcastle's fire brigades provided another chapter to the building's history of drama. After half an hour, the fire was under control, but the first story of the Star restaurant was extensively damaged. It's believed the fire started after the band The Freak Show tried to give a fiery farewell.
The lead singer, well, he did this thing with the flames, you know what I mean? The flames spurting, the gas spurting out of the mouth with the lighter, and he shot it up towards the seal, and
all of a sudden, in about a couple of seconds, you can't see nothing, full smoke.
Siesi Tofo and Arthur Ridgway were two of the heroes who helped the more than 30 Christmas revellers escape from the building.
Pull her straight out. That's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
You couldn't breathe in it. There was no way you can breathe in it at all.
The rescuers were among 6 people taken to hospital for smoke inhalation. The Star restaurant replaced the old Star Hotel, but it couldn't escape its infamous history. In 1979, the pub became a battleground after closing down celebrations erupted into a riot. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.